Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Oh, Pola's back. Proud atheist. I see you removed the term proud atheist from your name, but
Hi, how
you
you
are still
doing?
an atheist. What do you say?
Oh, I was just asking how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
That is
How
funny
did you,
that you
how did
mentioned
you
the proud
determine
thing.
that God doesn't
Very
exist?
Huh?
How
Oh,
did
I
you
didn't remove it.
determine
Someone
that God
removed it. I
doesn't?
don't know.
How did you determine that God doesn't exist?
Darth, I just don't believe in it. I don't know how else to explain it to you. It's
Well,
just
Well,
if
like
you
we
don't,
understand you
if you
don't believe
don't,
in it,
if you don't
but
positively believe in God,
no.
then listen, if you don't positively believe in God as creator,
Mm-hmm.
then by default, you will believe in the independence of facts relative to God. Therefore, God could not logically coexist in your world. Believing or not believing in God is not the same sort of thing as believing in the Eiffel Tower or gold on Mars or the Loch Ness Monster. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm not.
if you listen carefully, if you don't positively believe in God, then you are denying his existence directly or indirectly.
Yeah. I'm not saying for sure. Like I don't know anything for sure, as well as you guys don't know anything for sure.
Okay, listen. In a
Okay.
world where God is creator,
Yeah, Russell, you're
all
hot mic.
facts
Sorry, I didn't
in
hear
a
you. Can you please
world,
repeat that
What
for
did he
me?
say?
in a
Did someone-
world,
You're hot micing, yeah, Russell.
Oh.
so
Go ahead,
Pola, in a world where God is creator,
Mhm.
all facts, because God is creator, all facts would necessitate referencing God as the ultimate precondition. If you choose not to believe, for whatever your reasons, just say, I do not believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts, then that necessarily commits you to the denial of God, whether you admit it or not, whether you realize it or not. Okay. It's in philosophy, there's something called modus ponens. Okay. If
What does that mean?
P, I'm going to explain it to you, right?
Mhm.
If P, therefore Q. Okay. If P, therefore Q. And then we say P, therefore Q. Okay. If you don't believe that facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God, then it necessarily follows that you believe in the independence of facts from God. And if there is one or more facts that are conceptualized or believed to be independent of God, then God cannot logically coexist in that world.
Can I
Okay?
ask you a
Now,
question?
just hold on one second.
Okay.
Now, it's very popular in the world, even by professional philosophers, to
Mhm.
verbalize, "Oh, I don't know," because they don't want to have to defend what their real position is. But unfortunately, that doesn't hold water upon examination. Go ahead. What's
Yeah.
your question?
I was gonna ask you, why do you believe in God?
Because God has revealed himself in creation, and he's revealed himself through the course of human history, and that my own self-consciousness indicates that God exists, because without God being the precondition of all facts and being a mind and endowing me with being a mind like himself, then I couldn't be a mind. Okay.
Have you ever considered consciousness being just something that it shouldn't happen? Like a mutation that
No,
we
you're
should
not.
not have, like we're not supposed to have it?
Yeah,
No,
you're
I'm asking,
thinking
have you ever
some
considered it?
property. Hold on a second.
You're lagging a little bit. Can you? I don't know what you said. You're lagging a little bit. Or maybe not.
Is my mic working?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, what was your last question?
If you have ever considered that we shouldn't have a consciousness, that should just never be there. Because you're saying that
Well,
like one
unless
of the reasons
unless
you believe in God is
unless
your
unless
simple
unless
consciousness.
unless unless you acknowledge God by virtue that he has revealed himself in all of creation, then you won't be able, given your not God world, be able to make rhyme or reason about anything. Now, of course, you will believe that you can make rhyme and reason about why things are, but you
Mhm.
will not be able to ground them whatsoever.
Okay.
And those beliefs that you hold about what makes things the way they are, you will be holding to those beliefs in violation of your criterion of belief that you use to dismiss God.
What about creatures that do not have a consciousness?
Could you
What
show me a
happens to them?
creature that? Can you show me a creature that is conscious like human beings?
No. Like I'm asking, like for example, dogs. Like like for example, they wouldn't go to heaven.
Dogs are
You know,
dogs
they
are
just
dogs are sentient. They do not have self consciousness like human beings do.
yeah. What happens to them when they die? To
What
their
happens
soul?
when they die?
Yeah. They're like
They
animals and
they
shit.
just die. They
Die.
don't have a
Okay.
soul.
They just die. Well, exactly.
That's
That's
right.
exactly what I think. Like how you think about that,
Yeah, but
like animals just
here's
dying.
what.
Can I finish
Yeah,
explaining
of
this?
course of course that's what you believe, but you believe that because you don't want there to be a God, because you don't want to be accountable to God. But you know there's a
No.
God, you know you're going to be accountable. So while you're on this earth, okay, you're trying to assuage your conscience by
Accountable
concocting
for what?
beliefs. And what's that?
Accountable for what?
Accountable to your creator for your
My
conduct.
creator.
Yeah.
So like the
Now I'm
reason, for
still I'm
example, I'm a
still
good
waiting. I'm still waiting. I'm still
Mhm.
waiting for you to explain, okay,
Mhm.
why there's no God.
There just isn't. I don't know how you want me to explain it to you. Like as well as you tell me, "Oh, there is a God." Why? Like there
I
doesn't have to
want
be a
you.
God.
Okay,
Just because we
listen
have
to
a
me
consciousness
carefully.
doesn't mean
Are
there's a
you
God.
listening to me? Are you listening to me?
I
I don't want to
am.
have to kick you
I
like I
am
did the
listening.
last time. Okay. All right. Listen.
But why would you?
I've already explained to you the other time, and I'll explain to you right
Mhm.
now. You can stop playing this little game that atheists play, that you're undecided. Okay, that
I'm not
you're neutral.
undecided.
Good. Then your position is there is no God, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Is
How
that
is
a
it that there
rational
is no God?
position?
How
Yeah.
did you rationally decide that what is fundamental to reality is not God?
Honestly, Darth, I'm not really sure how to explain it. I'll have to look into it. Whenever I have an
Right.
answer,
I
I'll
know.
get. Can I get back to
You
you
know
to
why
that
you can't.
someday?
Do you know why you can't explain it? It's because you never will be able to explain it. The
No, I
reason why
will.
you hold to this
I.
position, no. Let me tell you why it's impossible. It is impossible in all capital letters. Okay. When we talk about God or not God, these are universal propositions. Okay. So if I say God exists, that's both a universal positive and a universal negative at the same time, right?
Mhm.
And not God is a universal positive and negative at the same time. Now,
Yeah.
in a God world, we can know that God exists as the universal, where God is the creator of all things and the sustainer of all things. So God would be what is ultimate and the ultimate universal, because he's the creator and he's the sustainer. But in a not God world, there would be no way for you to determine that there are any universals at all. In addition to that, there would be no way for you to determine why anything is, can be, or cannot be, because that's going to require that you have access and knowledge of what is fundamental and ultimate, that it imposes what, if any, regularity along with irregularity.
Mhm.
So you could spend the rest of your life, you could go get a PhD in philosophy, thinking that you're gonna go off to college, you'll get a PhD, and then you're gonna come up with a brilliant philosophical argument for the non-existence of God. But you would be wasting your time, because it doesn't matter if you got a PhD, because getting a PhD would not allow you to ground that there are in fact some universals.
Hmm.
And since atheism is it's a universal negative, okay? All facts are independent of God. Why? Because there's no God. How could you ever establish that there is no God? Why do you think it is the vast majority of atheists of the last generation and now on the internet rarely, if ever, boldly assert there is no God, but they boldly assert there is no evidence for God because
But you
they
boldly
think that
assert
they.
there is a God.
What's that?
There's no evidence about God existing.
Okay.
That's the
Can you
same thing for
defend that
you
statement?
guys. I mean, can you
Can
defend
you?
yours?
Okay.
Like,
When you
can you
say
give me
there's
their
no evidence
example
for
then?
God,
There's none.
listen carefully. In order to assert and defend that nothing
Mhm.
constitutes evidence for God, let me rephrase that. In order to assert and defend that nothing stands in causal relations to God, you would
Mhm.
first have to know that God does not exist by virtue of knowing what is fundamental and ultimate that's not God. So if you don't do that first, if you don't establish the non-existence of God first by virtue of what is ultimate, then you could never defend the statement that there is no evidence for God.
Then can you defend the statement of there is an evidence for God?
Notice the
Did you
immediate
understand?
pivot.
No,
Did
I'm
you
just
understand what
asking.
I just did you understand what I just said to you?
Yeah.
Did you understand what I just said to you?
Sorry,
She
my
said,
internet is
yeah.
lagging.
If she understood, what
You
is the
could
ultimate? That is my question.
you could not assert and defend there is no evidence of God until you first established the non-existence of God.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, how would you go about defending that all of the facts that you are familiar or acquainted with do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God? How did you establish that?
I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat that for me? I'm having a really hard time. English is my second language.
How did
Sometimes I
you
have a really hard
determine
time translating
how did
everything.
you determine that all facts are not created by God? How did you determine that all facts are independent of God?
Darth, I really don't know why you want me to tell you. I just don't believe that's it. Like
Because
I
you
just don't.
asserted it.
Yeah,
You
do you
just
know why?
asserted there's no evidence for God.
Yeah, you
No,
said there's no evidence for God.
I'm asking him. What
No,
are
you
the
asserted
evidence?
it. You asserted there's
Okay,
no
don't.
evidence for
Okay,
God.
I said it. Let me
I'll be glad to
Oh
answer
my
your
god.
questions. But you are no, you see, oh my God, you see, you're rude and you're obnoxious. Okay, and you should have
I don't mean
outgrown
to be
that
rude.
after
I'm
you
so
got.
sorry.
You're in your 20s. Well, you do mean to be rude.
No, I don't mean it, Darth. I really don't. I am so sorry.
Okay,
I did not mean to be rude.
listen. What I'm doing here is what I'm doing to every atheist I encounter. I'm not picking on you. I am trying to show you that atheism is completely incoherent. But the reason
Mhm.
why atheists don't recognize this is because they are strongly motivated by one thing. They do not want there to be a God. Now, why
Well,
would somebody, listen carefully, don't interrupt me.
I'm sorry.
Why would somebody not want there to be a God? It's very simple. Okay.
Can
It's
I
called human autonomy. Right.
Okay.
Now, either in your head and your day to day life, either you are holding to your human autonomy, right? That your
Mhm.
mind, unaided and non dependent upon God, will be able to determine the relationship of some things in this world by an inductive survey with no need or reference to God. Okay. Now, there's only one other alternative to that position of autonomous reasoning or autonomy, and that is where our mind and our being is in submission to the eternal mind of God as creator. So either we are going to repent, change our mind, and acknowledge that the mind of God is autonomous and we are not, and we are dependent upon him. We are his creatures and we're accountable to him. But if we refuse to acknowledge that, then by default, you will be operating from autonomous reasoning. You will be holding that your mind is autonomous. So when I say you keep on coming up with these atheist cliches that have no substance to them, they are defenseless catchphrases. And the reason why you're asserting them is because you don't want there to be a God. But the atheists go, one female atheist said, oh, well, they just say we don't want to believe in God because we want to sin. Well, the answer is true.
What does it matter
To
if I'm a
claim,
female? What?
listen carefully, for you or anyone else to hold to your own personal autonomy is sin.
Can I
Okay?
mean, maybe one of the reasons, for example, as you say, that I don't want it to be a God is because of how fucked up the world is. Like, how would he allow that to happen? Like, that would tell me
No,
that he's
I'm
a sociopath. Just like
having
looking at
trouble
all this
understanding
world
you.
being fucked up.
I'm having trouble understanding you because of your microphone quality.
My microphone quality.
Yeah, okay, that's a little bit better. Having objections to the good or the bad in this world is not a defeater for the existence of God. And in fact, it's childish reasoning.
Childish.
Yes,
Childish.
that's right.
Why? Do you
Because then
we
you
do
because
agree
then
that we're
okay, listen to me. When
but
there
you're not
are little
listening to
children,
me. You've been talking
little
all this time.
children frequently have a
Oh.
grotesquely elevated opinion of their own reasoning and intellect, don't they? Do little children think they know a lot more than they know? Well, the answer is yes. Well, what you're claiming is that you have reasoned that evil is incompatible with the existence of God. Where'd you get that from? There's no logical problem of evil. There's no logical contradiction in a world where God is creator and there can be evil. Number two, what you're calling evil is just simply you're referring to death and suffering. That's not incompatible with the existence of God. It's not even incompatible with the God of Christianity, in spite of the fact that atheists boastfully claim that it is. So the bottom line here is simply this. Since right now, you do not want to acknowledge and concede to the autonomy of God's mind for whatever reason, okay? Because you might say, well, I'm not going to do that because you haven't proven God. Then that means by default, you are embracing your own autonomy of your mind. Because if your mind is not autonomous, then the mind of God is autonomous. If the mind of God is not autonomous, then your mind is autonomous. And there's no third option. So is your mind autonomous? Is that too hard of a question for you?
I think there's something wrong with this microphone because he hasn't been speaking for a while.
Can you hear me?
She's got herself muted.
No, I
Darth
can
was
hear you.
talking,
I can hear you.
so,
I'm just
yeah.
done listening to you because apparently you cannot respect my point of view. So there's no point.
Is my
I
microphone
respect
working?
Christians. I respect, yes, your microphone is working. I'm just done talking to you.
Good.
Like you just
Okay.
ramble
Is
and ramble
your
and ramble and talk to
mind-
yourself, answering for me. So I'm done.
Is your mind autonomous?
Why should we respect something that's irrational?
Excuse me. What do you
No,
mean
it's not about
respect? No, no, no,
respecting
no, no, no,
something
no.
irrational. That's
Okay.
not what she said.
It's about
Okay. I
respecting
asked you a
in
question.
general. Can
I
I
asked
just
you a question.
answer that real quick?
Okay, no, I'm gonna mute you. Everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Okay. I asked you a question, Pola. Is your mind autonomous?
I'm gonna skip that question because I'm done talking to you.
No, you're
because of how
not. No,
rude
you're
you
not
are.
gonna skip the
But
question. No, you're not gonna
parakeet,
skip the question.
parakeet.
Okay, you're not gonna. Okay, we're done with you. Okay, so she's being childish, Okay,
You're
she
kind
only
of
wants to
lording
answer
over her,
things.
though, Darth. To be honest, you are. You're making it impossible. You're making it where she
No,
won't want to
listen.
answer.
I dealt with you yesterday. Okay, were you around when I talked with her the last time?
I was here when you talked the last time.
Okay, and was
But
she
Darth, I'm
constantly
on
in?
your
Okay,
side.
all right. Bye bye.
What are you-
You're gone. He's gone. Okay. I'm not going to have him white knight for this evasive young woman. Okay. Pola, do you accept the autonomy of God's mind?
Darth, if she doesn't want to talk about it, then she doesn't want to talk about it.
No, what she's actually being confronted with is
No,
the very
you're a really
heart
rude person.
of the issue.
It's really hard to talk to
Okay,
you.
good. See you later. Okay. Rude my ass. That's rich coming from her, where she machine gun interrupted in the last conversation, and she was doing it again.
This was clearly a tactic. She knew she couldn't argue her position, so she just resorted to
This is what they do. This is what they do. Once they realize they have no intellectual ground to stand on, then they go to Plan B, to the 107 stratagems of Plan B, to troll, to obfuscate,
I'm
to
not
misdirect,
trolling.
to rabbit trail.
I'm sorry you took it that way.
Get out of here. By the way, did you get that Tom Rabbit?